Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today into No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to unpack the nice guy syndrome,
Okay.
figure out where it comes from and how to break free.
Sounds good.
So if you've ever felt like you're giving way too much
Yeah.
and getting crumbs in return, well, this one's for you.
This book is amazing.
Yeah.
It really blew me away with how it pinpoints a pattern. So many men might not even realize they're stuck in.
Yeah.
And it's not about turning into some bad boy stereotype.
Right.
It's about recognizing the behaviors and beliefs that are actually holding you back in life and in love.
The book grabbed me right from the start.
Oh, yeah.
With the story of Jason.
Okay.
He's this guy who bends over backwards to please his wife, anticipates her every need, but it always seems to backfire.
Oh, wow.
His efforts just aren't getting him the love and appreciation he's craving.
Jason's story and others like it in the book really highlight the paradox of the nice guy. On the surface, they seem like genuinely good guys.
Right.
Caring, helpful, eager to please.
Totally.
But underneath, they're struggling in relationships.
Yeah.
Feeling unfulfilled and often end up resenting the very people.
Right.
They're trying so hard to please.
It's almost tragic.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
They're so focused on earning love,
Yeah.
but they're using the wrong map entirely. The book calls these paradigms
Okay.
basically mental maps we use to navigate life.
Right.
Like, imagine using a map from the 1800s to drive across the country today.
Yeah.
You're going to hit a lot of dead ends.
That's a great analogy.
And the book argues that nice guys often develop these faulty paradigms in childhood
Okay.
based on experiences that basically teach them to hide their true selves in order to gain approval.
Interesting.
Like Jason, for example.
Okay.
He grew up with a controlling father who has sky-high expectations
Right.
and a mother who was emotionally needy. So to survive in that environment, he learned to be perfect for dad and to cater to mom's emotions, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was his way of coping, but the problem is he carries those patterns into his adult relationships. The book really drives home the point that nice guys often recreate those dysfunctional family dynamics in their love lives.
Particularly there.
So Jason ends up choosing partners who are either emotionally unavailable or super critical.
Okay.
Just like his parents.
So he's unconsciously seeking out
He is.
those familiar patterns.
Yeah.
Even though they make him unhappy.
Even though they make him unhappy. Exactly.
So now that we understand who the nice guy is,
Okay.
let's look at how this pattern develops.
Okay.
The book digs into this idea of toxic shame as a core issue. What exactly does that mean?
Toxic shame stems from those early childhood experiences of abandonment or feeling like you weren't good enough. It leads to this deep-seated belief that you're inherently flawed or unlovable.
Wow.
Even if it's not consciously there.
So they carry this feeling of not being good enough into adulthood.
Right.
And that impacts how they interact with everyone, especially in romantic relationships.
Precisely.
And to cope with this toxic shame, they develop all sorts of survival mechanisms.
They do.
People-pleasing, avoiding conflict at all costs, hiding any perceived flaws.
It's all about protecting themselves from further hurt and rejection.
The book dives into the historical context too, right?
It does.
I found it really eye-opening how Dr. Glover focuses on the baby boomer generation. He suggests that societal shifts, like absent fathers and the rise of feminism, may have unintentionally contributed to this nice guy phenomena.
He argues that these trends, while positive in many ways, might have also reinforced the idea that men needed to suppress certain aspects of themselves, especially their masculinity, in order to be accepted.
So interesting.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does. Are those social trends still impacting men today? I mean, things have changed, but maybe some of those underlying messages are still there.
That's a question worth pondering for sure.
Yeah.
It's all about understanding the context.
Right.
Now, the good news is the book doesn't just diagnose the problem.
Yeah.
It offers solutions.
Okay, great.
And one of the core messages is that breaking free from the nice guy syndrome is about reclaiming your personal power.
Okay, I'm all ears. How do you actually do that?
Well,
where do you even begin?
The book emphasizes shifting your focus from seeking external validation to finding approval from within.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that your worth isn't tied to your job, your possessions, or even your partner's happiness.
That makes sense, but it sounds easier said than done.
It is.
Especially for nice guys who are so used to getting their sense of self from pleasing others.
It is a process for sure, but the book offers some practical exercises to get you started.
I like it.
One thing it suggests is identifying the attachments you use to try and win approval.
Yep.
Like maybe it's your job title or the car you drive, or always being the nice guy everyone likes.
Right.
Once you see those patterns, you can start to loosen their grip.
What about spending time alone?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's something a lot of people, not just nice guys, struggle with these days.
Absolutely. The book really emphasizes the importance of solitude, spending time alone without distractions, or the need to please anyone is crucial for self-discovery. It allows you to reconnect with your own needs and desires, separate from what everyone else expects of you.
So we've defined the nice guy. We've explored those faulty paradigms.
Yeah.
And we've touched on the roots of this toxic shame.
Right.
Now let's get practical.
Okay.
How does the book advise nice guys to improve their relationships?
Well, the book is very direct in saying that nice guy patterns can sabotage relationships. It highlights how these men often recreate the same unhealthy dynamics from their childhood, which keeps them stuck in unsatisfying partnerships.
Can you give us a specific example from the book to illustrate this?
There's the story of Reese, the graphic designer, who always seems to choose partners who need rescuing.
Oh, wow.
He's constantly putting their needs before his own, trying to fix their problems, just like he did with his emotionally needy mother growing up.
It's like he's unconsciously trying to heal his past through his romantic relationship.
Exactly, and it's not working.
Right.
He's attracting the same type of partner over and over.
Oh, wow.
And it's leading to resentment and burnout.
Yeah.
The book really encourages you to examine your own relationship patterns and identify any unconscious needs that might be driving your choices.
That's a powerful insight. So how do you break free from those patterns?
The book emphasizes the importance of setting boundaries. And this is where it gets challenging for a lot of nice guys.
I bet.
They're so used to putting others first, to saying yes to everything, that setting boundaries can feel almost impossible.
So what's the first step? Where do you even begin to set those boundaries?
The first step is simply recognizing that you have needs. And that it's okay to prioritize them. It's about being honest with yourself and with your partner. About what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not. It's about learning to say no without guilt. And to create a space where you can be your authentic self.
I'm really starting to see how those childhood patterns play out in adult relationships. It's like a light bulb moment for me.
It is.
But let's be honest, there's another area that can be especially challenging for nice guys. And that's sex.
Yeah.
I know the book dives into this pretty deeply.
It does, and it approaches the topic with a lot of sensitivity. It acknowledges that sexual challenges are common for nice guys and frames it as a natural consequence of their core beliefs and coping mechanisms. You know, that feeling of not being good enough can really play out in the bedroom.
So how does it manifest? What specific issues does the book address?
It covers a whole range of challenges, from performance anxiety and settling for bad sex to more compulsive behaviors.
Wow.
It's all connected to that deep-seated fear of rejection and that desperate need for approval.
You know, one of the things that surprised me was the book's perspective on healthy masturbation.
Oh.
It's not something a lot of people talk about openly, but the book presents it in a really insightful way.
Absolutely. The book suggests that for nice guys, healthy masturbation can be a powerful tool for self-discovery and overcoming sexual shame.
Interesting.
It's about exploring your own body and pleasure without judgment, without fantasy, without the pressure to perform for anyone else.
That's really interesting.
It is.
I think that's a good place to pause for now.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into No More Mr. Nice Guy.
We have.
We've explored the nice guy syndrome, its origins, and how it can impact relationships, and even a man's sense of self. But there's so much more to uncover.
There is.
Join us in part 2, where we'll continue our exploration. Focusing on the powerful concept of reclaiming your masculinity.
Sounds good.
See you there.
I'll be there.
Welcome back. In part one, we really dug into the nice guy syndrome.
Yeah.
And how it can impact relationships, sex, and even a man's purpose in life.
Right.
But now I'm really curious to explore this idea of reclaiming masculinity.
Uh-huh.
It's a hot topic these days with so much discussion
about
what it even means to be masculine.
You're absolutely right. And the book doesn't shy away from this conversation at all.
No, it doesn't.
In fact, it dives headfirst into how those societal shifts we talked about earlier, starting with the baby boomer generation, have left some men feeling disconnected from their masculinity.
That makes sense.
It challenges nice guys to define what being a man means to them on their own terms.
Right.
And not based on some outdated stereotype or what society expects.
One thing that struck me was how the book talks about nice guys.
Yeah.
Often being disconnected from other men. They might have few male friends or feel uncomfortable in those traditional male spaces.
It's a fascinating observation.
It is.
And Dr. Glover argues that this disconnect often stems from nice guys trying to differentiate themselves from the negative examples of masculinity they witnessed growing up. You know, maybe it was an angry or absent father or those jerks we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So they might have unconsciously adopted this belief that being nice means rejecting anything that seems traditionally masculine.
So they end up isolating themselves from the positive aspects of male camaraderie and support.
Right.
Those healthy relationships that can help them grow.
Precisely. And this isolation can actually reinforce their dependence on women for validation and emotional support, which feeds into those imbalanced dynamics we discussed in part one.
Right. So they're not getting what they need from
The book really stresses the importance of breaking this cycle by intentionally cultivating friendships with other men.
So it's about recognizing those patterns.
Right.
And seeking out those healthy male connections that might have been missing earlier in life.
That's such a great point. And it leads us to another key relationship. The book explores the mother-son dynamic. This can be tricky territory.
I know.
But the book doesn't shy away from it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not something you hear discussed very often, but it's clearly an important piece of the puzzle.
It is.
The book uses this phrase, being monogamous to your mother, which definitely caught my attention.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure. It might sound a bit provocative.
It does.
But it highlights a common pattern for nice guys.
Okay.
They might unconsciously maintain an overly close bond with their mothers,
right,
even into adulthood.
Yeah.
Which can actually prevent them
wow.
from fully engaging in romantic relationships.
It's like they're still seeking that approval and validation from mom.
They are.
Even when it's no longer appropriate or healthy.
Exactly.
For their adult relationships.
And the book suggests that when boys have healthy relationships with their fathers or other positive male role models, it helps them individuate from their mothers in a natural and healthy way.
Yeah.
But when that's missing, they might seek that sense of belonging from women,
right,
leading to those imbalanced dynamics we've been talking about.
So it's not about rejecting your mother or cutting her off.
Right.
It's about finding that sense of male connection that might have been absent in childhood.
Exactly.
And that brings us to another important relationship.
Okay.
The father-son dynamic.
Right.
The book encourages readers to really examine that relationship right.
It does. Nice guys often have a strained or negative view of their fathers, which can really color their perception of all men.
And I can see how that would make it difficult to connect with other men.
It does.
Or to embrace those positive aspects of masculinity.
Absolutely. The book encourages you to try to see your father through a more compassionate lens. To acknowledge his flaws, for sure. But also to recognize that he was probably doing the best he could with his own limitations.
It's not about condoning bad behavior. It's about understanding the context and finding a way to move forward without carrying that baggage into adulthood.
Exactly.
So we've talked about connecting with other men, reframing those relationships with your parents. What are some other concrete steps nice guys can take to reclaim their masculinity?
The book highlights the importance of embracing physical strength. Now, this isn't about becoming a bodybuilder or fitting into some macho stereotype. It's about finding activities that make you feel powerful and capable in your own body. Maybe it's hitting the gym, maybe it's learning a martial art, or even just getting out into nature and pushing your physical limits.
It's about connecting with that primal physical energy.
It is.
That's often suppressed in the nice guy persona.
Exactly. It's about feeling comfortable in your own skin and embodying a sense of confidence and self-assurance.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't have to be all about physical exertion.
Okay.
The book also encourages nice guys to simply observe men who embody the qualities they admire.
Okay.
Seek out mentors, join a men's group.
Right.
Or just pay attention to how other men navigate the world.
I love that the book talks about the ripple effect this can have on a man's life. It's not just about him. It's about the impact on his partner, his children, his community.
That's what makes it so powerful as nice guys reclaim their masculinity. They become more present and engaged partners, fathers, members of their communities.
Right.
They're less likely to fall into those patterns of people-pleasing and self-sacrifice, which creates a more balanced and fulfilling life for everyone involved.
It's inspiring, isn't it?
It is.
It shows that it's never too late to break free from those old patterns
and
embrace a more authentic version of yourself.
It really is, and that's what makes this book so valuable.
It is a good one.
It's not about shaming men for being nice.
Right.
It's about empowering them to become the best versions of themselves.
I think that's a great place to wrap up part 2 of our deep dive into No More Mr. Nice Guy. We've explored this idea of reclaiming masculinity.
We have.
And I think we've uncovered some really powerful insights.
Yeah.
But the journey doesn't end there.
It doesn't.
Join us for the final part of this deep dive.
Okay.
Where we'll explore the practical steps you can take
to
put all of this into action and start living a life that truly reflects who you are.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah.
We've explored the nice guy syndrome, its origins, how it shows up in relationships, and even how it can impact a man's sense of self.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready to talk about the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
Taking action and getting the life you really want.
Right.
I mean, understanding the concepts is great.
Right.
But how do you actually put all this into practice?
That's where the rubber meets the road, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I appreciate most about this book. It doesn't just leave you hanging with a bunch of theories.
Right.
It gives you actual steps. You can take real-world examples of guys who have made these changes.
Yeah.
It's inspiring and practical all at the same time.
One of the core principles the book emphasizes is facing your fears. It's like that saying everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Right.
But for a nice guy who spent his whole life avoiding conflict and discomfort, that can feel terrifying.
The book acknowledges that fear is real.
Yeah.
But it also challenges you to lean into it.
Okay.
To identify what you're truly afraid of. And then instead of running away to walk right towards it, that's where the growth happens. That's where you break free from those old patterns.
I love the story of Charlie the engineer who dreamed of becoming a pilot.
Oh, yeah.
He was so afraid of failing, so full of self-doubt, that he almost gave up on his dream entirely.
Wow.
But then he decided to confront his fear head on, got his pilot's license, and even landed a job that he loves.
That's great.
Talk about a transformation.
Charlie's story is such a powerful example of what's possible when you step outside of that comfort zone.
Right.
The book challenges you to ask yourself this question.
Okay.
If I knew I couldn't fail, what would I pursue with passion?
That's a good one.
It's about recognizing that often fear is the only thing standing between you and the life you desire.
That's such a powerful question.
It is.
I'm definitely going to be sitting with that one for a while.
Yeah.
The book also talks about this shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. It's about challenging that deep-seated belief that there's not enough to go around.
Right.
Not enough love, not enough success, not enough of anything.
That scarcity mindset is so common, especially for nice guys who have learned to dim their own light to avoid making others feel uncomfortable.
Right.
The book encourages you to flip that script, to embrace the idea that there's more than enough for everyone.
I like it.
It's not a competition, it's a collaboration.
So it's about trusting that your needs will be met, that opportunities will arise.
Yeah.
And that you don't have to constantly be in control or fighting for scraps.
Right.
It's about letting go of that fear and embracing a more expansive view of the world.
Exactly. And the book offers some really practical tips for cultivating an abundance mindset. Things like practicing gratitude, focusing on what you have rather than what you lack, surrounding yourself with people who support your growth. It's about shifting your perspective and recognizing the abundance that's already present in your life.
I love that it's about shifting your focus from what you're missing to what you already have.
Yeah.
Speaking of shifting your focus, another big theme in the book is the importance of asking for what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And this can be a major stumbling block for nice guys who are so used to putting others' needs first.
It can feel almost impossible at first, right?
Yeah.
But the book encourages you to become aware of your needs and desires.
Okay.
And then this is the key, to communicate them clearly and directly.
It's about recognizing that your needs are just as important as anyone else's.
They are.
And that it's okay to ask for help, to ask for support, or even just to have your preferences acknowledged.
There's that great story in the book about Phil.
Yeah.
Who was so reluctant to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
He saw it as a weakness, a burden on others.
Right. But then he learned to lean on his support network.
Huh?
And it transformed his life. He was able to start his own business, improve his relationship with his wife.
Wow.
And generally create a more fulfilling life.
It's a beautiful example of how sometimes the only thing standing between us and what we want is our own reluctance to ask for it.
It is.
It's about overcoming that fear of rejection or burdening others and allowing ourselves to be supported.
And, that ties into another important point the book makes.
Okay.
Taking responsibility for your own happiness.
Okay.
It challenges the nice guy's tendency to make his happiness dependent on external factors.
Right.
Like his partner's mood or his boss's approval.
So it's not about waiting for things to change or for someone else to make you happy. It's about actively creating a life that reflects your values and brings you a sense of fulfillment.
Exactly. And the book gives you tools to do that.
Okay.
It encourages you to identify your passions, to set boundaries, to prioritize self-care.
Mm-hmm. And to surround yourself with positive influences.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that you have the power to create the life you want.
It's a journey of self-discovery, isn't it?
It is.
It's about peeling back those layers of conditioning.
Right.
And rediscovering who you are at your core.
And that's what makes this book so valuable.
Yeah.
It provides a roadmap for men who are ready to break free from the nice guy syndrome and create a life that is truly their own. A life that's authentic, fulfilling, and aligned with their deepest desires.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into No More Mr. Nice Guy.
That's right.
We've covered a lot of ground, from understanding the origins of the syndrome to exploring practical strategies for reclaiming your masculinity, achieving your goals, and ultimately living a more fulfilling life.
It's been a fascinating exploration, hasn't it?
It has.
We've seen how seemingly harmless behaviors can actually be self-sabotaging.
Right.
And how breaking free requires a shift in mindset, a willingness to challenge old patterns, and a commitment to personal growth.
If you're ready to embark on this journey yourself, we highly recommend picking up a copy of No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Absolutely.
It's a powerful read that can truly change your life.
It can.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Reach out to a therapist, join a men's group, or connect with a trusted friends group. Support is key to making lasting change.
Absolutely. And as you move forward, remember that final thought-provoking question from the book. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you pursue with passion?
That's a great one.
Let that question be your guide as you step into your power and create the life you truly desire.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into No More Mr. Nice Guy.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.
Did you get any of that?